You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, good morning or good afternoon whenever you're hearing this. That's all good. How you doing, Taylor? You doing all right today? Keeping cool?
I am well. I am keeping cool, actually.
Well, you sound like you're from. Are you from home today?
I am from home. Do I
Yeah.
sound weird?
Well, not weird. It's different than when you're in the studio. No, it's not weird,
Oh,
but it's all
It's
good.
better now? How's this?
That's better. Oh my, there you go. All
Yeah.
good.
Hello.
Hey, that's creepy. Anyway.
Oh, come on. You started it. Don't act like you're not impressed.
Okay. Back to the matter at hand. Anyway, so I hope y'all are keeping cool out there because it's hot and it's windy and it's dusty and it's all those things. And then it's all those terrible things. But hey, it's all right. It's summertime in Texas. What do you expect? It's always interesting. I'm reluctant to do a show on climate change because it's one of those issues that are so divisive, I guess, because some people are convinced it's happening, some people it's not. But anyway, it's interesting. Maybe I will someday if I can ever pony up the nerve. But it's no doubt this is going to be one of the hotter summers we've ever had. If we're this hot in June, we're looking at a hotter summer than normal. What's interesting is Well, what's interesting is when I was 18, the summer of 1980 is always the summer these weather people
Wait,
refer
1980?
to.
You mean like 1920?
No, 1980 when I was in high school, wise guy, when I was driving my, Model T to school.
They had cars back then?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah. We called them,
Giving you a hard time.
we called them horseless carriages back then. But anyway, it's the hottest summer ever. And what was so ironic about it was I was working outdoors. I was working landscape irrigation and landscape maintenance and things like that. And it was brutal. And so we're going to have to go a long way to beat that one, but that's okay. But anyway, back to the matter at hand, the more important stuff. We're going to talk about the January 6th hearings as much as I can. I have to confess, I did not have the time to prepare as much as I would have liked to because, things got in the way. Just life in general, nothing, no crisis, no issues, no, hair ending. It just, uh, things got in the way. So I am lesser prepared for this than I'd like to be. But my general thesis about this show is going to be on January 6th. And I'll probably throw in a few other odds and ends as well. My general thesis is that we need to really look at what's going on in this hearing, even if we don't like what's going on in this hearing. Um, there's been a lot of criticism on the right about this January 6th hearing, and not all that criticism is unwarranted, but there are some things that are coming out in this hearing that we need to know as Americans. And we need to know who's saying these things need to be taken seriously. There's been a lot of testimony in these hearings that are pretty concerning, and they're not from the usual suspects on the left. So we need to see what they're saying, and we need to understand what's going on, and we need to look at it not just from our current political standpoint, but what implications does this have for the future of this country in certain ways. But there you are. And also maybe at the end I might, talk about what's going on with the gas. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening there. But anyway, if I get to that, we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about the sponsors because there are always a gas, as Mick Jagger would say. CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Thank you, Daniel. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. CrossFitBurleson.com. Check out their webpage for the programs, the training, the times, the protocols, the membership plans, all that. And so it's a great place to go work out. It's behind that strip mall on Renfro where Stone Soup is, the Valley Cleaners is, and all that other business. So it's easy to find. So centrally located. It's 317 Southwest Wilshire. Thank you, Shandy. Shandy Stogsdill Real Estate. If you're going to move this area, you need to talk to her because a lot of these homes are being sold before they even go in the market, and they're being sold for more what they're asking for. Now, I've been told, or what I'm reading, is that the market's slowing down just a little bit. Well, that's great, but you need to have somebody knowledgeable like Shandy to help navigate through this real estate. So give her a call if you're looking to move around here. Same thing with Rex. I'm watching the market. I'm going to check out the stock market as we speak at 11:05 a.m. not January, what the heck am I saying? June 14th. And right now, the market is down 201 points, 202 points now. And it took a beating yesterday. There's a lot of money being lost in the stock market right now, and that's not good. But I'll talk about that in a minute. But you need somebody to navigate this with you, and Rex Russell can do it. So hit myfinancialbox.com, make an appointment, become a client, have some coffee. He'll help you through this. He'll hold your hand. He'll dry your tears, whatever it takes. So talk to Rex Russell. I probably need to get him on the show pretty soon just to talk about what's happening with this economy again. Also, thank you to Gayla. She's back from her convention in Las Vegas over at Southern Gym. Southern Gym has inventory, it has cleaning, it has appraisal, it has repairs, it has design. It is the full service jewelry on the third floor of the Windmiller building. It's a great place. Go say hey to Gayla. Say hey to my wife. She's working there right now. Go buy some jewelry for that special loved one. Father's Day is coming up. Buy him a nice pinky ring. Who knows? Looks like a mobster. All right. Thank you to Michelle Humphrey over at Hotworks. This is a better place to work out. You go out there and work out in the heat, you're risking sunstroke or something like that. You will work in this infrared heat. You're not going to have those kind of issues to worry about. And it's a controlled environment, a monitored environment, secure environment. So it's a good place to go work out. There's all these various workout plans. So check out Michelle and Hotworks over on 731 on the Commons, which is the movie theater, Kroger, etc. Also, thank you to Mandy. You're supposed to be getting some stuff, some swag pretty soon. I'm looking forward to it. I think she told me Friday. So we're going to get hats and cups. And I'm going to put one on Taylor because just having him walk around with a Mr. Allard's Neighborhood hat on will increase our viewership by 30% right there.
Only 30%.
Well, I already figured you being here has gotten all the others. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. Anyway, Mandy Harden, check out our website, Creative Concepts by Mandy, and she can help you with your promotional items, pins, hats, cups, shirts, banners, etc. It's a great thing. And there you go. Now, here we go to January 6th. When they were announcing this January 6th hearing sessions, and this has been going on for several months now. I wasn't surprised. I mean, that's what the party in power is going to do when the other party is seemingly going to be caught with some sort of political disadvantage or malfeasance or scandal or whatever else. So this is to be expected. I promise you, if the Republicans take over in November, it's going to be Hunter Biden and his laptop all day on Fox and etc. And we'll probably get our feel about that. But the point is that people listen. Well, this is an abuse of power of Congress. No, it's not. This happens all the time. This is really what Congress does: is they have these special sessions or special investigative committees. We did it for Benghazi. We've done it for throughout our history. It's there's been numerous ones. The more famous in history, like Iran-Contra in the 1980s, or 9/11 hearings and things of that nature. So this isn't unusual. What is unusual is going to be the political impact and what it's revealing about the back scenes of the Trump administration. And what's interesting to me also is that many of the people that are testifying were there where it happened. They were in the inner circle. And they're all relating the same story: the absolute refusal of Donald Trump to accept the results of the election. And I'll grant that there were anecdotes here and episodes there throughout the entire election that may have pointed to more incompetence and malfeasance. And there is some evidence that the process was manipulated through the drop boxes, but I'm not going to get into all that. The point is, I accept the verdict of the election of 2020. I don't care for it, but then again, it was such a difficult choice to make. But I accept the fact that this election was, for the most part, legitimately run and properly done. Now, some people don't believe that or don't agree with that, and that's fine. I would also say this is that we're reaping what we sowed, not just in 2020, but in 2016 and in 2018, what has happened is that the losing side, and this includes both parties, absolutely, have come to the point where if they lost, it's because of fraud and malevolence and incompetence and scandal and all the above. 2016, the Democrat Party, it's been shown through the Hillary Clinton campaign and open court testimony by her own campaign manager, fabricated and distributed false information about Donald Trump and his Russia connection. This is not just Fox talking points here. This was said in a trial 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago by Robbie Mook, her campaign manager, that she endorsed and approved the dissemination of this false Steele dossier as it became known. And the Democrats spent 4 years claiming that Donald Trump is illegitimate. And they went through all the investigations with the Mueller investigation, and it came up basically holding a more or less empty sack. And they impeached the president on, I wouldn't say totally unfounded, but it was greatly exaggerated evidence in over a phone call. And so the Democrats, did participate in this narrative overall that our elections are invalid. And then in 2008, we have a Georgia governor's election that the Georgia Republican won by 50,000 votes. And Stacey Abrams, who is running again in 2022 for the Democrats, refused to concede and refused to acknowledge that it was legitimate. And she said that it was done because of false voting and fraud and misuse of the ballots and voter suppression and all this other business. Then we come to 2020, and Georgia is the model of efficiency, according to the Democrats, because Joe Biden won that state. And so my point is that before we start heaping praise upon the Democrat Party for their pursuit of the truth, they led to this environment in a large way that allowed Donald Trump to make these kind of claims and have enough people in the country believe it. And on back to 2016, Trump already, before the election was even over, was already claiming fraud about illegal voters, illegal citizens, or non-citizens rather, voting. And so it's led to the environment where he disputes Milwaukee and Philadelphia's ballots. He disputes Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania. And so both parties are equally guilty of making it seem like there is no such a thing as a fair and proper election. Whoever is going to lose this election is going to raise Cain about all this. And so before, I guess that's my point, is that, before, that, the Democrat Party acts like they're shocked about what happened in this election. They're just as guilty of it as Donald Trump is, or they claim to be. I believe Donald Trump is guilty of being detached from reality, as Bill Barr said yesterday. I do believe that his allegations about fraud are not valid. And that's not just me saying it. It's dozens of people that were in the room with him have said it, including his daughter and son-in-law. I also will say, if the Democrat Party thinks this is going to be the return ticket to holding the majorities, they're delusional. You're not going to win an election with $5 gas. You're not going to win an election when you have a president whose poll ratings are below Trump's right now. Despite all this trash that you were talking about with Donald Trump, he still had better poll ratings than Joe Biden did at this point. And so that if they're looking for political gain from this, they're going to be holding an empty sack. Now, are most people paying attention to this? I'm not sure. I know they came on live Thursday night. I really wasn't interested in watching because I know what they were doing. It was basically an infomercial trying to show, their case. Well, they don't have to go on primetime TV to do that. They were trying to get the American people more involved in this. And I think a lot of the American people, frankly, are kind of checked out on it. They either have said Trump is innocent or guilty, and this is all politics, one way or the other. Do I believe it? I've already stated that. But my point is that we need to pay attention to what's being said, even if we don't like it. And I'm going to go over some of the quotes in just a minute. I will say this: I think this is the improper venue for this to be held. I think it should have been done with a special prosecutor, because what you have now really is not an investigation. An investigation would also entail cross-examination and rebuttal witnesses and things of that nature, and there's none of them going to be scheduled by this panel. Now, you're saying, well, who could be on the other side of the argument? Well, I don't know, but that's their job to know, and there's their job to give them equal time. And this committee is not doing that. They're bringing up witnesses that are going to verify their claims. Now, again, I'll put it this way: if this was a more of a legitimate investigation, they should have passed it to a more nonpartisan, impartial investigator. Now, we've had many of those in the past, and they kind of went sideways a little bit, but I just really think that this is going to would be better done if they were done by a special prosecutor. When Robert Mueller came out and said there's not enough tangible evidence to connect Donald Trump with Russia, that took care of it. At least that issue. Now, there are people who will still make their cases on MSNBC or CNN about it and all this other stuff. But the point is, when Robert Mueller came out and said, well, we have suspicions, but we don't have evidence, that diffused the whole situation. If we had a special prosecutor and a special investigator that, like John Durham is doing right now on other issues, then we'd probably have not just a more legitimate verdict at the end, but a more accepted verdict at the end. Because you look at that committee, and I could promise you right now, I don't know if you know the makeup of the committee. The chair, Benny Thompson of Mississippi, is your standard Democrat. There's nothing significant about him. But on that committee is one of the most egregiously sniveling creatures that Congress ever created, Adam Schiff of California. He was the one that led the impeachment hearings in the House, and he was constantly leaking out evidence and testimony to MSNBC and CNN. Adam Schiff is a creature of the dark. And his presence on that committee guarantees that there's not going to be any ethical treatment of the evidence or the witnesses. Again, I'll go back to the impeachment hearings it had in the House. He was constantly feeding the sympathetic networks testimony and gossip that turned out to be untrue in some cases. Some of the things he claimed that he was seeing in these hearings turned out to be totally invalid. But Adam Schiff is probably as loathsome a person in Congress as you'll find. And so that's why I don't want Congress's involvement, because they've gotten to the point so involved, so they're so driven by partisanship that any conclusion they come up to, no matter how it's supported by the evidence, is going to be disputed by a large portion of this country just because of their participation. I would have rather had a nonpartisan or impartial investigator that can investigate these things without the cameras, without MSNBC and CNN ranting and raving, and just have it, done properly and present the evidence to a grand jury. And if Donald Trump is going to be, indicted on whatever, then so be it. But whatever conclusion that this committee comes out has already been dismissed by a large segment of this country as invalid, no matter how valid the charges or evidence is. And so that's my real problem with this whole thing. It's not the idea that we're investigating what happened January 6th. It's the process and the I wouldn't say one-sidedness of this, but there's already a conclusion been drawn, and they're trying to make their case for it. They're not making a case and then they come to a conclusion. They already have their conclusion. They're just trying to bolster it with these high-profile hearings on television. Now, that being said, I've already said that I believe that the 2020 election, for the most part, was valid. I believe that Donald Trump's claims are wildly inaccurate. And that's just not me saying it. There's a good article in today's Politico. It's titled "Trump's Election Fraud Claims Are False. Here are his advisors who said so." And it lists the advisors that all said to him, to his face, that it was This is not what's happening. Of course, there's Bill Barr, his former attorney general, who said that he's detached from reality if he believes these conspiracies. And basically, um, he he told the president to his face it was BS, and he didn't want to be a part of it, and so he resigned and was replaced by somebody else. Will tell him much the same thing. Told Mr. Trump, this is not based in reality. There were 62 cases, by the way, brought in court. 61 of them were thrown out. 62 came to a verdict, and basically it said you could proceed in investigating, and it didn't. Nothing really happened. But I'm just saying that 61 of the 62 cases were thrown out of court, and these were in Trump-friendly courts and Trump-friendly states. This wasn't some judge in New York City. It was in Arizona and Georgia and other Trump-friendly states. Many of those judges themselves appointed by Donald Trump, and they threw the cases out as unsupported by the evidence. And the Supreme Court would not hear any of the appeals because they come to the same conclusion. So anyway, Bill Barr, back to him, he basically testified, he's been testifying that he made it clear that there was no evidence of this fraud. And Trump started yelling at him, said, "You just don't like Trump," and, because he likes to refer himself in the third person. And, Barr has a book out, and I'm sure, on a side note, all these people are now scrambling to disassociate themselves from Donald Trump in this because they got their careers to think about and book sales to think about. This isn't too different than what happened with Reagan's people over Iran-Contra, but I will say they were more loyal to Reagan, or the Watergate, where everybody was jumping ship and trying to, bail themselves out, like John Dean and others. But I'm getting too far in the weeds. But we're talking about person after person that were in the room, told him, said there's no evidence, and they were curtly rebuffed, and they kept going. Former campaign manager Bill Stepien. Now, it was interesting. He was supposed to testify yesterday, but then his wife goes into labor. And so they just had his previously recorded testimony. And he says, he said that he advised Trump not to declare victory until all the votes are counted, but apparently he got overruled by an allegedly drunken Rudy Giuliani. Giuliani's denied being drunk, but several people have testified that he was, but that's who cares. Rudy Giuliani is a buffoon. But anyway, they were going to go in a different direction, they said. And so they basically, his own campaign manager said, look, wait till all the votes are counted. And they said, no, it's not going to happen. And then later, in the end of the month, he told Trump his chances of getting enough ballots through, that hadn't been counted yet or were still in process were, quote, very, very, very bleak. And so he said that the challenges and whatnot are showing that there's not enough there to overturn it. And he told Trump basically to concede, and he got shown the door. His own daughter, Ivanka, same thing. And you had this very distasteful response by the president, basically criticizing his own daughter. Same thing with her husband, Jared Kushner. They both said to him, let it go. You lost, Dad. And they got rebuffed. The former acting deputy attorney general, Richard Donahue, who is Barr's second in command, who was temporarily in charge, and he says, quote, we've done dozens of investigations, hundreds of interviews. The major allegations are not supported by the evidence developed. We looked in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Nevada. We are doing our job. And they said to Trump personally, directly, much of the information you're getting is false. Even Trump's own data expert, guy named, I'm going to have to pronounce this right, Matt Oskowski, told him that this is not statistically supported. His own campaign attorney told him, Alex Cannon told him it's not happening. The Republicans hired a guy named Benjamin Ginsburg, who was the same man who investigated, the same lawyer that investigated the 2000 election between Gore and Bush. And he comes back and says, we don't have enough evidence. See, I'm trying to find this quote. Well, it's not really a quote, but he basically says that here it is. The simple fact is that the Trump campaign did not make his case, and all those cases got thrown out. And also the attorney general for that area of Georgia, not the attorney general, the U.S. attorney, I meant to say, the U.S. attorney, a guy named B.J. Pack, said that he was being pressured by the Trump administration to find votes or in frauds. And he says, I found none, but I was getting pressure for it. On and on and on. Okay. So my point with all of this is that it's not just CNN and MSNBC jumping on it, even though they obviously are. Person after person after person that has been involved in this in some fashion or form. Even Kellyanne Conway, his most loyal subordinate, he said, she quotes, "I may have been the first person Donald Trump trusted in his inner circle who told him that he had come up short this time." And so, and this is from her book she just wrote, of course. The team had failed on November 3rd, and they failed again afterward by not confronting the candidate with the grim reality of his situation that the proof had not surfaced to support his claims. They denied him the evidence he sought and respect he was due. Instead, supplicant after sycophant after showman genuflected in front of the Resolute desk and promised the president goods they could not deliver. And then, of course, Trump says, "Oh, she never told me that." Well, okay. So I bring all this up. And at the other side of the commercials, I'm going to talk about the impact of this. But my point is that we need, particularly those that consider ourselves Republicans and conservatives, need to understand the danger that was inherent with Donald Trump and what he tried to do after the election. It's not just January 6th. That event may have been the capper of the whole thing, but we really need to be just as concerned, if not more so, what happened between Election Day and that January 6th. The the evidence is clear that Donald Trump refused to abide by the election results and that he orchestrated a illegitimate attempt to overturn the election. Now, there's a lot of Trump people out there that just don't want to believe that, and I can't help that. And I'm not any happier with Joe Biden either. So don't give me this, well, he's better than Biden. I don't care. You can't have this. Donald Trump orchestrated basically an illegitimate campaign to overturn a valid election to maintain his control of the White House. Now, it all fell apart because, fortunately, there were people in the room that said no. Now, there was, of course, the lackeys and lapdogs that were more than glad to do it. But it's amazing to me. I'm looking at this testimony, the people that are coming out saying, well, I told him, but he wouldn't listen, including his own chief of staff, Mark Meadows, who is as conservative pro-Trump as you can get. They were going time and time again. They were telling him, this isn't working. And Trump would not listen. So he hires Giuliani and this circus clown named Sidney Powell, this attorney, to represent him. And even when Powell was brought up with charges about defrauding the public or whatever, she said, well, my claims about Trump are so ridiculous, no one really can believe it. So therefore, I should be held guilty of fraud, but whatever. But I'm just saying that on this case, we as Republicans have to confront the fact that the president that the vast majority of his party supported was attempting a coup d'etat, and that's all there is to it. And again, people say, well, things were better back then, and we didn't have $5 gas back then. On and on. I'll address that on the other side of these commercials. But it's a hard realization that the president of the United States came as close as we've ever had of overthrowing a legitimate election. That's there's nothing like that in our history that's even come close to that. The closest may be 1828. No, 24. I'll try that one. 1824. And it's between Jackson and John Quincy Adams, and this is in the history class, but I'm saying we've never come close to where we had a sitting president that would use the powers of government to maintain his power after he's been defeated in an election. And person after person that were on the inside, in the room, when it happened, told him so. Now, yes, I will grant that they may be looking for parachutes now because they have careers and books and TV appearances to protect. And yes, some did, but not all of them did. Came out as it was happening and said this. Bill Barr did, but very few others did. Came out publicly in 2020, 21 and said these things on their own. And they did say these things under oath. But now we know. Now, let's talk about these sponsors here, and then I'm going to talk about what does it mean. Thank you to Our Place, Otto. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. Well, I'll be seeing you probably sometime this week because I usually go there for meetings and such with clients or sponsors rather, and BNI friends and things like that. It's a great place to do business. It's hometown. It's good food, good service, friendliest wait staff you'll ever meet, and it's just a good place to be. Our Place. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you to Wild Cigar and Culture, Chris Notaboom over on Hidden Creek and the Standard. It's a good place to do business also. Maybe have a smoke, have a drink, talk business. It's a nice quiet atmosphere. Maybe you could do something later that evening. It's they got good music on in the background. It's not loud. It's not intrusive. If you want to have meetings there, they have a meeting room there. They have a patio out there. If you want to take advantage of a cool evening or something like that. So Wild Cigar and Culture is the place to be if you enjoy a good smoke and a good drink. Also, Antonio, thank you to Proactive Payment Solutions. Check out proactivepaymentsolution.com. You're going to be glad you did if you have a small business because they can help you with point of sales operations and other online related business functions. They could streamline your operations. They can get you the best deals, cheapest prices, things of that nature. So proactivepaymentsolution.com. Check it out. Ask for Antonio and see what he can do for your business. And then, of course, Local Live with Tiffany. It came out last week. We had her on Friday. So that is on YouTube and also the Apple and Spotify podcast. Hang on. Sorry. So Local Life magazine is out, and I've seen it in a couple places where I stop by to do business. And so it's in 30,000 homes. It's in a lot of businesses, over 110,000 people. Also, she's having a nominate a local hero. So go on her page, go on the Local Life page. There's a QR code. You can click on it, and you can nominate a hometown hero. And it could be anybody in this town you think has done a great job for the community. Firefighter, an officer of the law, somebody that works at City Hall, some citizen that just does above and beyond. And so be looking at that. This is going to come out in the next issue. So be checking that out. I also got another special thing going on with our friends over at Next Step Women's Center, a diaper drive. From today, June 13th to the 23rd, you could support Next Step Women's Center by going by and buying a pack of diapers and leaving it there, and they will come and take care of it. I'm going to look for, here's the promotional spin right here. All right. Stop by City Market to purchase and donate a pack of diapers to Next Step anytime this week. You can buy them there and leave them at customer service, and they will be sent straight to the Next Step. We are giving out diapers to families with children under 36 months in June and July. Help us keep them in stock by purchasing and donating at City Market this week and next. And if you know of anyone who has a child under 36 months and needs diapers this summer, have them call us at 817-295-4101 and ask about the Summer Bonus Days diapers. There are no income qualifications. All who call in will have the opportunity to pick up free diapers. And boy, you can go through those. I remember those days way back in the day. But anyway, so go by a City Market, buy a pack of diapers with the rest of your stuff, and just leave them by the front desk, and they'll take care of it. And you could be helping out one of the great community organizations we have. All right. What does this mean? Sometimes when I talk about this, the response I get is, well, look what's happened now. We didn't, when Trump was president, we didn't have $5 gas. We didn't have 8.6 inflation. COVID was still raging. In fact, there's more deaths under a Biden administration than Trump's under the COVID, which I don't know how much either had to do with that. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that look back at the last 3 years and said we were better off in 2019 than we are right now. And the data is hard to, dispute. I mean, 8.6 inflation serious, and there's all these articles coming out now saying that this is not going to be a temporary phenomenon, no matter how much the Biden administration wants to kick it to the curb. They also have the stock market melting down. Yesterday, 880 points lost. This isn't just like some sort of video game or something like that. That's real wealth that's been dissolved. It's all paper wealth for most people, but it's still not good. The NASDAQ is down by a third since the beginning of the Biden administration. The Dow Jones is down by a sixth since the beginning of the administration. Now maybe closer to a fifth. The S&P is lost money. It's now in the bear market, which is very unusual. So yeah, people look around and say, "Look, my 401k is taking a beating, and I can't get to my job without $100 fill up on my vehicle." And we got all this crap going on around the world, and then we had this disastrous pullout in Afghanistan, which, on a side note, I will be talking about with Thursday's guest, Jimmy Nico. So yes, things are not as good now as they were 3 years ago. I think that's more an indictment in the current president than it is an endorsement of the last one. I think this current president is done exceptionally poorly. And he has surrounded himself with his version of lackeys and stooges because they will not address these issues frankly and forthrightly. You know, they try to make you think that this inflation's a temporary phenomenon and that Joe's on it and all this other stuff. Here's an interesting side note. I don't watch CNN. I particularly don't watch Don Lemon, who I just think is just egregiously bad. But he had Biden's press secretary on, and he asked her directly, are there concerns in the White House about his age? And she said, that's a totally inappropriate question. You're talking about the president of the United States. You shouldn't be asking about his health. What? You know, this is the kind of response we're getting, you know, is that they're trying to cover up what is obvious to everybody. We're seeing that this job is too much for Joe Biden. And so they said, let's give it, you know, we should go back to Trump. I want to say this with as much candor and tact as I can. There are people that could do the job besides Donald Trump in the Republican Party even. The Republican Party may have gone off kilter, and you may have members of Congress that have pledged their allegiance not to the Constitution, but to Donald Trump. And I can't help that. But there are Republicans out there that could do the job better than either the current or the previous occupant. And we need to, as Republicans, we need to find those people. And if you're a Democrat, you should hope you find those people. If you're a Democrat listening to this show, you got your problems too. You know, you got some people out there that are egregious, just like we do. But right now, if you were a Democrat, you should hope the Republican Party gets their center back and move away from this. And what really bothers me about the primaries, there's primaries going on today in about 5 states. And what's bothered me about these whole primary series that we started, you know, about 3 months ago, is that when the press reports who won the Republican primary, it's not this guy beat this guy or this woman beat this guy or whatever. It's, did Trump win or lose? Did the Trump endorsed candidate win or lose? And they're taking a tally on Politico and other websites about his batting average, I guess. Did Trump's endorsement matter in this primary or not? That's all they're talking about. Okay? They're not talking about the quality or lack of quality of the Republican nominees. They're talking about, did they get nominated by the president or not, or endorsed by the president or not? That's the hold that he's had on this party. And it's not a good hold anymore. I understand why Donald Trump gained his popularity in 2016. He was addressing things and people that the Democrat Party basically had given the back of their hand to. He was so popular in large segments in this country because he was saying the things that they wish they could say if Nancy Pelosi was sitting across the table. They wish that they could tell some of these lefty, eco-friendly, green-haired people, whatever you want to talk about. He was dropping them in their tracks, and he was saying things that many of Americans wanted to say, and he was addressing their economic stress. And while as Clinton and Obama and others were in the Democrat Party were talking about globalization and international trade agreements and things like that, their companies are being sent overseas, and Trump comes in and says, "I hear you and I feel your pain, bro," and people responded to that. I get it. When I talk to a Trump person, that's what they go to, is that he said the things that he said, and he focused on things that need to be focused on. That's why he's so popular still. That's why I still, when I drive around here, I see Trump flags. And I don't think of them as cretins and slobs and Neanderthals. I think of them as people that have been told by the elites of our society that you really don't count much and you don't really have a voice, and that, you know, that your concerns are your problem. We're more globally focused, and we're more concerned about certain segments of the population that you may not belong to, so you don't really need to be heard from. The Democrat Party's become a party of identities. And if you don't fit into one of those identities, they have no use for you. And so that's why Trump got in the first place. And that's why he's still popular now. And I would say to both Republicans and Democrats, if you think Donald Trump is a problem in our society, address the things he addressed. You don't have to do it with mean tweets. You don't have to do it with, some of the snark and sarcasm he was so good for. But you need to address those issues that face rural America, that face industrial America, that face people that are being overwhelmed by the border situation, that face people that are finding their jobs being shipped overseas. He addressed those issues one way or the other, and people felt like they were being heard. If you want to remove Donald Trump from the political process, indicting him and throw him in jail isn't going to work because he'll be a martyr forever that way. What will address what Donald Trump has done to our politics is address the issues he addressed in the manner he addressed them, forthright, honest, and willing to take the heat instead of all this sniveling that we see in Congress today. And so that's what I would say about the Donald Trump trials, if you will. You want to call them that, the January 6th trials. I believe that what the January 6th committee is doing is necessary. We need to know. It needs to be for the historical record. It needs to be for current lessons. I already addressed, I think they should have done it in a different format with different personnel and remove people like Schiff from the process. But I'm just saying to my vast listening audience right now, and I hope you share this with others, if you think Donald Trump is a problem in our society, in our politics, address the issues he addressed. Both parties should look at what's happening in rural America. Both parties should look what's happening in urban America. Both parties should talk to those who are losing their jobs. They need to talk to people about how difficult it is for them to maintain their budget when they're paying $5 gas on the average. And you go to the grocery store and you buy a sack of groceries and it's over $50, which actually happened to me yesterday. I was astounded when they rang it up. I looked at the receipt and I'm like, since when did Hatch chili peppers cost nearly $2 for a small can? That kind of thing. Address those issues and Donald Trump won't be an issue as much. Quit looking to support this identity group or that identity group and, affirm this group or whatever else and start talking about the problems that most American people face. And then choose candidates that are going to do something about it other than try to score political points and tell you how bad the other side is. And I say this to both parties. There's some Democrats out there that I've come to think well of, but they're very much in the minority in Congress. I can tell you that right now. And so there you are. Thursday, I have Jimmy Nico on, the famous dog trainer of Burleson. We're going to talk about his experiences in Afghanistan. We're going to talk about also maybe a little bit about dogs. How can you not talk about dogs? I mean, really, it's next week. I'm really not sure what got on. I got a couple of tentative guest schedule, but sometimes it takes a little while to work out the schedules and the times because a lot of these people work for a living, unlike your faithful correspondent here who just lazes around all day. This may sound odd, but I am going to ask Taylor one time to be a guest. We're going to talk about electric cars. He doesn't know that yet until just now.
Whoa.
Yeah. We can talk about electric cars. And I have some questions about it we had a party, Sunday school party, so you know what that means. Wow, wild times. Or Saturday night. And a lot of us were talking about electric vehicles, and there's some good and some not so good and some questions about them. So I need to talk to somebody who knows more about it than I do.
Yeah.
So who knows? Is that your dryer in the background?
It is actually.
You're multitasking.
I am multitasking.
Well, good for you. Anyway,
yeah.
Let's run through the sponsors while we're multitasking. Thank you, Daniel, at CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well. Check out their webpage at CrossFitBurleson.com. and you'll see the memberships, plans, training, the whole thing. So check it out. 317 Southwest Wilshire. Also, thank you, Shandy. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying your summer with your kids. The Stockstill Group will help you find a house in this area, and that's no easy thing to do. So check her out. She has some homes that she's listed, and she has some homes she knows about. So give her a holler. Also, check out the 817 Life page, because on Facebook, it's a good place for information on what's going on in this general area. Also, thank you, Rex, over in Cleburne. He'll come to you, though, so you'll go wherever you are at myfinancialbox.com. Hit the link. Find out what he could do to help you through this market. I keep checking the stock market during the show. Of course, by the time you hear it, this may be tonight or maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But it's right now, it's at 231. So it's been at negative 231. It's been dropping. So it's, it's a real problem. I also come to think about it. I want to just remind you, yesterday's show, the proposed gun deal is on Apple and Spotify right now. So if you want to check out what I said about that yesterday, then check it out. So it's already up and running. Back to the matter at hand. Also, thank you to Gayla. Hope you're enjoying your day over at Fine Jewelry and Gemstone. Southern Gem. Southern Gem has become the go-to place, and not just in Burleson, but this whole area of the Metroplex for jewelry repairs and things of that nature. People drive a decent distance to come see your inventory and to visit her store. It isn't just, people here in the Burleson area. It's all over Johnson County, Dallas County, Tarrant County. So check out Southern Gem, top floor of the Windmiller Building, and she can help you out with your jewelry needs. Also, thank you to Hotworks, Michelle Humphrey. Hope you're doing well. Hotworks on 731, help you a safer workout than this heat's going to let you. You're working with infrared, so you don't have the just bearing down of oppressive heat outside. It's a good environment, safe environment, secure environment. So Hotworks over in 731 in the Commons. Thank you to Mandy. I look forward to seeing whatever you're putting out. I have a pretty good idea what it's going to look like, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Creative Concepts by Mandy. Check out a webpage, Creative Concepts by Mandy. If you're looking for promotional items like cups and hats and shirts, the whole 9 yards. Also, thank you to Otto, of course, at Our Place. Everybody goes to Our Place. It's a great place to go and have a meal and a good time and quiet, stress-free conversation. I just like that place. So there you go, Our Place. Also, thank you to Chris. It's another place you can have a nice stress-free conversation, a little cigar, a little drink, a little jazz in the background, sit on the patio when it gets cool. It's a good place to go. Thank you, Chris, for all your help and support. Thank you to Antonio for the same. I appreciate your sponsorship and help, and I hope Proactive Payment Solutions could be the solution for you. You're looking for point of sales operations and other types of streamlining your operations online. He could do that for you, and he knows the right programs for your particular business or industry. So talk to Antonio at proactivepaymentsolution.com, and he'll get you set up. Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate their visit last week. Local Life Magazine, the marketing group, is also, I don't really stress enough the fact that she's more than just a magazine. She also does social media. And so if you're looking to do social media in this area, she does that as well and does it very well. So I have a lot of regard for Tiffany, because she's a very skilled entrepreneur and a good and decent person to boot. So Local Life Magazine, check it out, and you'll find out what's going on in this community. Also, I remind you about the local heroes. Check out that page. Also, the diaper drive, June 13th to 23rd. Go buy yourself whatever groceries you get. Just pick up a pack of diapers on the way, buy them, put them over by the counter, and they'll get them to a very, very helpful group. I'm very fond of Next Step, and so I have them on frequently. I'll have them on pretty soon, I'm sure. So a diaper drive, June 13th to 23rd. Okay. Like I said, Thursday we'll be in the studio with Jimmy Nico. Next week, I really don't want to put things out that haven't been confirmed yet. So we'll see what happens. If not, Joe Biden always provides me with material. So whatever. Hope you share this with your friends. Hope you check out today's YouTube, and we will see you Thursday.